Welcome to Watching the Throne.
A lyrical analysis of Kanye West.
My name's Chris Lambert.
My name is Travis Bean, and I feel empowered right now. I mean, Chris, you're in the Black Void too, right? You're with me on this?
I mean, I have some light spilling in through the windows.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's not a complete midnight at noon as it is for you.
Well, you have generally more favorable Kanye opinions, so your punishment isn't as severe as mine. You know me. I like Drunken Hot Girls. I like See You in My Nightmares. I like Close on Sunday. I love the Chick-fil-A line. I think that might have been the last straw. But yeah, we're both here floating in this blackness that is the Watching the Throne Studios, and we're here to talk about something that, ironically, though, there's no darkness associated with this story. This is a wonderful story we're going to hear from you today.
Yeah, it's the story of how I met Kanye West.
Any story where you meet Kanye West, needs to be told in several chapters, I feel like.
Yeah, this one has a little bit of an epic, fortuitous quality to it, right? It wasn't. It feels more destined is a dramatic word, but a lot of luck, a lot of elements came around to just be like, oh, here I am talking with Kanye West.
And this is great, because I don't know anything.
No, actually,
go ahead.
You don't.
I have guesses,
I was in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yeah, you were just in LA, but lots of people go to LA. A lot of people went to LA, in fact, this weekend for the Super Bowl, and none of them met Kanye, but you did.
Yeah, it's just funny because I was on this trip and we haven't actually gotten a chance to sit down and talk. This is actually going to be Travis's first time hearing how everything came about.
I'm so excited.
I think some bits and pieces just from some of the behind the scenes stuff that we've talked about in general. You could kind of see how it would lead to this, but you don't know the details, man.
I don't. And the angel's in the details. The devil in the details doesn't work today, because today only goodness is in the details.
That's right.
All right, so where do we start? You're going to LA. Why are you going to LA?
All right, so I have family in Los Angeles that's last year in January, I think, of 2021, my uncle passed away. And they weren't able to have the funeral right away. They were supposed to have a celebration of life sometime at the end of 2021. And that got pushed back due to everything with Omicron and everything. Right. So they had it set another date. And my wife and I just decided, okay, we're going to go first week of March. We're going to go to Los Angeles, see my family, see my aunts, and just kind of have that comforting experience. And then we also have some friends from Austin that moved there that my wife has really been wanting to go and visit and see. So we have this whole little mini trip planned out that's just going to be a few days. But then something else came up here where another group of friends was like, hey, can you please be here this weekend for this thing? So then I was like, all right, we have to change the tickets. Yeah. When are we going to go? And I'm scouring. I spent 2 hours trying to figure out, me and my Jewish heart, what was the best deal for the flights. Yeah. So it's if we leave Thursday and come back Monday, if we leave Wednesday, come back Sunday, and I'm doing it for all these different weeks, and finally just decided, you know what? Let's just do my birthday weekend.
Yeah.
Let's just go out to Los Angeles, birthday week. We'll leave the 9th, spend the 10th through the 13th, and it'll be a great time, right? And after we do that, it comes up that I can do an interview with Kudi and Shike for Genius, the Kanye Netflix documentary that comes out tomorrow, where if you're listening to this tomorrow, it's the 15th, but if you're listening on the 16th, it's out right now, so go watch it. But part 1, so I got to watch part 1, part 2, part 3, and then on the 9th, the 8th, the day before I left, I actually got to do this interview with Kudi and Shike. It was a video call, and I'm talking with them, and it's just a good time. They recognize me. They're just Chris, thank you so much for the reviews. Awesome. Everything. Yeah, we posted it, right? So it was cool, to get to meet those guys, digitally, right? But they were talking about Genius and the Genius premiere, and I knew there was going to be a Los Angeles premiere. And actually, one of the executive producers for the documentary, this guy Kevin, who's awesome, I had actually talked with him back in 2019 when we first started as Forbes contributors. There's this guy Chris Styles who brought me the Brothers story, who was just like, hey, right. I worked on that song Brothers that never came out. I have like all this information if you want to write the story. So I talked with Chris, who put me in touch with Kevin, and Kevin, who had been at Bad Boy, and I worked at Bad Boy, has all of these connections with people in the hip hop space, is a lawyer who now does like a lot of like legal contract stuff for a lot of these like 2010s hip hop artists, was the second person I talked to for that story, and who ended up putting me in touch with Seven Aurelius and helping me write this like huge epic about the song Brothers. So I was actually in touch with Kevin and was actually talking with him the night before I left and mentioned that I was actually going to be in Los Angeles. He's like, oh, that everybody's out here for the premiere, right? I was like, oh no, I did not know that. I was like, but it would be cool like to actually get to meet like Kudi and Chike if there's an opportunity. He's like, yeah. They're doing this like other thing. So let me see if I can get you a ticket to this thing. I was like, okay, cool. So a couple days pass. Like I get to Los Angeles, do all the birthday stuff, reach out to Kevin, and he's like, all right, I'm going to get you this ticket for this thing on Saturday. And I was like, I actually can't do Saturday. That's when I'm driving out like outside of Los Angeles to see my family and do this thing. He's like, okay, here, there's this thing Friday, come to that. I was like, all right. I had no idea. And I saw that it was like the Jesus experience or the Genius experience.
Right.
And I remember there had been a website that went up at one point that talked about the Genius experience, and you could get tickets for it, but it was sold out as soon as the link was sent to us.
Right.
So I never knew what it was or what it was going to be. And what Kevin initially told me was something about like archive footage. It seemed more like an exhibit.
Right.
So I didn't really realize I was going to be going to a party. And then I got the email, and the email is talking about this party at this like LA's top restaurant. Wait, let me bring up the email here. All right. It says, the Genius Experience, attendee details. We are pleased that you can join us tonight for the opening night of the Genius Experience. Right. Doesn't really tell you too much. Is located at Mother Wolf inside Citizen News. Like there's valet parking, just kind of show up. You're going to need like a PCR test. Like you're going to have a COVID test. And I honestly thought with the COVID test, I was like, well, I'm not going to go.
Right.
Like it initially said you had to have it before 24 hours. And I got the email like within 24 hours that I was going. So I was just like, okay, we're like with our friends. It's going to be, initially it said 8:30 at night. You need the negative test. I was going to go get tested at like midnight the night before. But then they pushed it back to 9:30. They said they were going to do testing on site. And okay.
Yeah,
sure. It'd be good to meet like Kudi, Chike, Kevin, see what else is going on. Maybe I'd get to meet like a couple other people that would be interesting. So I end up going, and we had rented a car. So we had spent the day in like downtown Los Angeles. We had gone to this food hall thing that was amazing. Gone to the main Los Angeles train station. That's like their Grand Central Station. Just kind of took in some of the downtown LA sites. Headed back to our friend's place and had a little bit of time to kind of like crash and decompress. I was like, all right, well, I'm off. I don't know what to expect.
I'm going to go be in the vicinity of Kanye.
I had no idea he was even going to be there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, at that point, because the last thing I had heard Ye say about the documentary was Drake needs to narrate, right? And it was just like, all right, Drake's not narrating. And he had been kind of opposed to the documentary. I don't know if he's going to be like off in Miami, if he's working on the album, like how into it is he going to be? So I drive out to this Mother Wolf place, and I initially pull up on the side street. It's in like downtown Hollywood, right? So you're in the midst of Hollywood. There's all this traffic, and I see all these people standing outside the front, and I roll down the window. I'm like, "Hey, where's the valet?" And the guy points, and he's like, "You just passed it." And it was literally like 5 feet behind me. Where I could almost turn in, or if I could back up a little bit, I could turn in, but there was also a line of 6 cars behind me.
Ooh.
So I just had to kind of go around the block. And all of this is important because the timing works out so specifically well for me. So I end up having to drive around the block once. And all these other bars are having events because it's Friday night, downtown Hollywood, Super Bowl weekend, right? I think a couple stops away, Justin Bieber was hosting some kind of show. And so I end up on this one side street, like trying to make like the first right turn going around. And I just sit behind a bus for 10 minutes that won't get out of the way. And then finally get up to the traffic light, and somebody just sits through the entire green light despite me honking until they finally like go through when it turns yellow. And then I just have to wait at the traffic light for all the other cars to go. I finally get to make the right turn. I'm back in the streets. I pull in, park, get out, and then have to do the COVID test. And it's a rapid test, 15 minutes. So they go and swab. And I'm just standing in this holding area with a few other people. I try to make like a couple jokes to people, and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're in LA. Like, they're too cool for that.
Yeah, I was just like, da. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Everybody else is like in a group of like 2, 3, 4, and I'm just there by myself.
Yeah, right.
And I start checking Twitter, and that's when I see somebody posted like Kanye arriving at the Genius premiere.
Yeah.
And I see that, and that's the first moment where I'm like, oh, wait.
Now, I have insight into Chris. I think if anybody else in the world, like, well, maybe by anybody else in the world, I mean me, saw that, I would like instantly be terrified. And like at no point would the thought enter my head like, ooh, how can I find Kanye and get a picture with him? I feel like that's immediately what you thought.
Actually, I still wasn't. I was just like, maybe I'll get to meet Kanye, but I also have no idea if, like what I'm walking into.
Yeah, that's true. Will he even be there?
Where is this? Yeah, will he be there? What is this? Like, okay, so I'm still like outside. I'm just looking across the street. So I tweet like, I'm about to go to this party. I take a photo of the Genius Experience banner that's across the street from me. And finally, like my time's up. I'm cleared. I go across the street. I go in, and I walk in, and it's just this really fancy Italian restaurant that looks like something a mob owner would have. Like, it's just like columns and all these red leather booths, marble tabletops everywhere, like really open air, but there's sections. So it's like you walk in and the bar's immediately to your right, and it's this giant like floor to ceiling bar. This roof is like 20 feet high. It's like very spacious. The bar is really long, and just past the bar you have all these standing like marble top cocktail tables. And then you have the first section of booths, and it's like these C-shaped booths along a divide, and then booths on the back side of the divide. So it's like you have the bar section with the back booths, and then you have your first like booth dining section where you just have like one row of C-shaped booths, a gap, and then another row of C-shaped booths, the divider, and then it goes to another area, and then another area. So there's like 4 sections through the place. So the first 2 sections were accessible. Like you could go along the bar area in that space between the bar and the booths, and then go into that first booth area. And then beyond that, it was VIP. So they just had some servers standing there, and I tried just like doing a lap, and they're like, no, like you stay where you are. So I think there was about like 50 people when I first walked in. Like there were clearly people there, but it wasn't like packed or anything. And I'm looking around. I don't see Kanye. I don't see like Kudi or Shike. I don't see anybody recognizable in any way. Grab a drink from a server, and I'm just kind of like going around, doing a lap, doing another lap, not seeing anyone, like checking Twitter, and make it through my drink very quickly. And it's been maybe 20 minutes. I haven't talked to anybody.
What'd you drink, Chris?
All right. It was I don't remember. The first one, they had like some kind of pink cocktail that they were serving.
Okay.
And then something that was, I forget what it's not a Manhattan, but it's something that's like an Italian version of a Manhattan.
Oh, okay. A Vucare?
No. But I didn't like it all that much. So I was like, I'm just going to get scotch.
Nice.
So I'm going to the bar, and I'm standing like right by Quavo.
Oh.
Like, wow. And that's when things like, I'm like, oh, okay, so here's Quavo. He's like right in front of me, like literally, like if he takes a step back, he's bumping into my shoulder.
Yeah, star meter rises in that moment, like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, like oh, here we are. This is okay, and he's wearing this like red outfit, looks awesome.
Yeah,
and I don't have a. It's funny because I'm not like a big Migos fan at all, so there's no like, there's no emotion. There's no emotion of me being like, oh, how do I talk to him? How do I get a picture? And it's just kind of like, okay, like, cool, he's here. But it was definitely admiring like the outfit and everything that he had rocking with. But that's when I looked to the right and I realized Jason Lee was at the bar.
Ooh.
So Jason Lee, Hollywood Unlocked. Right. He recently has become like head of Donda Media. He and Ye connected a month ago and have really been working like closely with Jason, giving Ye a lot of coaching in terms of media and how to deal with the media. He was the one that told Ye that he should make the post about trying to see Chicago on her birthday and make it public. And they had that 45-minute interview that they did together, which was really great. So I see Jason there. I was just like, oh, I should talk with Jason. You know, he did the Future Brunch. He's head of Donda Media now. He and Ye are working closely on Black Future Month stuff. Let him know. Like, we're around, we're available. So he has a group of like 5 people around him that are kind of like asking him questions. He's talking to this woman. He's ordering drinks. And I'm just kind of like waiting. Like, I'll get to talk to him in a second, wait for him to leave the bar, biding my time. And I look to the left, and there's Kanye.
How close?
Just like, at that point, it would be like 10 feet, 15 feet.
Whoa. That's next level.
No mask. And I had seen somebody walk by with a mask on earlier. I was like, that doesn't seem like Ye. But they had the mask on. They had a gold chain. But I was like, that looks a little too like taller, a little too skinnier.
Right.
So it's just like Kanye, no mask, standing there, and all these people just like rush up.
Oh, for sure.
And I had this thought of like, oh, how do I ever get through that? Like, do I start trying to go over a maneuver? Do I squeeze my way in?
Yeah.
And I'm already feeling this sense like this is going to be a little bit of a lost cause.
Yeah, right.
But like, it's cool that I'm getting to see him in person. He's right there. And you can kind of see him like smiling, talking to people. I look back at Jason and I'm waiting to see like what Jason's doing. And then I look and Kanye's just walking right past me, like towards me and then past me. And so Jason was like to my right, Kanye was to my left. And I'm like spun around as Kanye walks past me and like walks up to Jason. And I try to say, hey, Kanye, my name's Chris Lambert.
Oh, gosh.
And it doesn't really come out. I'm just a little like shell shocked. I was just like,
pretty understandable.
Yeah, just like a first grader trying to talk to a firefighter.
Wow.
Like, I don't know.
I gotta say, if I don't think I've ever witnessed that, like you unable to turn on the charm.
It was yeah, and it was loud in there too.
Right.
So like, yeah. I was a bit shell shocked. So then Ye's talking to Jason, and they're just standing there like right in front of me.
Yeah.
Like as close to me as Quavo was, where like if he like Ye's like jackets like touching my elbow at times.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Like I'm saying like not like 5 feet away, not 3 feet away. It's like I'm part of the conversation, even though I'm not.
You're just waiting for Kanye to turn around and be like, "What do you think, Chris?"
I mean, they were facing me. Like they were like, it was almost like I was included in like if anybody was looking, it seemed like Ye, Jason, and this little guy were like talking, because Ye has his boots on, like Jason's like a little taller and stronger looking, and then I'm just like looking up at both of them. And they're just kind of like, "Hey, good to see you," like blah 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 blah, and they're kind of like leaning in and not quite whispering, but it's still so loud that it's a little hard to hear what they're saying. And I'm just kind of like looking back and forth between both of them.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Not trying to eavesdrop, but also not trying to like turn my back on the moment. See what opportunity arises. And then Jason goes back to the bar, and Ye just turns around and he's standing there, like not doing anything.
Whoa.
It's like when the sim has no like command.
Yeah, you haven't commanded them to like read a book or like wash the dishes.
Yes, so he's like inactive, just gazing around the room. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he did it just like immediately walk away. He's right here.
Was there a green diamond above his head?
Yeah, right. Like interact. So I go to say something, and this guy walks up with this girl, a pretty LA girl, and he's just like, "Yeah, I want you to meet Marissa," or whatever her name was. And she does like the little dainty, like puts the hand out with the like the palm down, the fingers forward.
They do it to me all the time.
You know what I'm talking about.
People recognize me from the channel all the time.
And so Ye kind of like takes her hand and is like, "Hello," and she's like, "It's nice to meet you." He's like, "Nice to meet you." And then he introduces a second girl, and then a third girl.
Whoa. Jeez.
I know, it's just like a string of
How
like,
do you compete?
I'm just standing there like, I can't. Kanye's right here, and I'm not going to be able to talk to him because like all these other people are seizing the opportunity in a way I'm not necessarily comfortable with.
I would love in that moment if you just like walked up, reached out your hand like, "Hi there, Chris Lambert." Like just interrupt everything.
Yeah. Back up. It's my time. It's my time. So that happens, and then somebody hands him a drink, and he has like 2 drinks in his hand. One in like a tall, thin glass, one in like a short, squat, like scotch glass. And he sips one, sips the other, and then kind of like takes a moment and goes, "I like them both." And people around laugh.
I'm laughing.
And then they like take the drinks, and he's kind of just standing there again. There's just this pause. And I'm like looking around like, is this
it?
This like coast is clear, like nobody else is around, like he's still standing right there. And at this point I'm on his like 3 o'clock, right? I'm like to his right arm. He's still directly in front of me. Like if I tried putting my arms out ahead of me, I would just push Kanye into a pillar.
And you didn't do that?
Like I did not do that.
Better story, but
so that's how close we are. And I just go, "Ye, do you mind if I introduce myself?" And he glances down at me, and he's like, I'm 5'6", he's 5'7". He felt like he was like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, he's
like,
Kanye.
He has the boots on too, so he's just like, so he like kind of glances out of the corner of his eye and nods. And I'm Chris Lambert from the Kanye podcast. And he goes, "Oh yeah," and has this smile on his face, like a genuine, like
warms my heart.
Like recognition, and gives me the little like handshake, dab, hug combo. And I was like, "Oh man,
wow,
oh man, okay." Like he recognized like the Kanye podcast moniker. Got the genuine "oh yeah" reaction. It wasn't like, and I would be honest if it was like a "oh yeah," like he had no idea
like
who we were.
"Oh yeah,"
yeah, like that. Just like, "Hey man, what are you doing here? Did you sneak in? Like security, come get the." But he was just like, "No, oh yeah," with like a smile. So I got a Kanye smile. You won't know it from the photo, but I got a Kanye smile. So then you have the the awkward pause where it's like, now what do I say to him?
Right. Did you not plan ahead?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
I
either.
honestly, yeah, I had no idea what. And in the times that I've imagined this, I've always imagined pitching the movie interview.
Yeah.
And I think in hindsight, I'm still sad that I forgot to do that. But in the moment, instead of asking him for something, right, I wanted to try and give something. So
Sure.
I said, I really enjoyed your Black Future Month speech, which was, I do believe, the last thing I made a video on before leaving for Los Angeles. And he was like, oh, yeah, you like that? I was like, yeah, I thought it was like a great mission, a great goal. It's something that I feel like is very necessary. And he was like, what did he say? He said, I don't always know I'm going to be giving speeches. So I wasn't sure what I was going to say. I was just kind of like going off the cuff. So essentially just saying like it wasn't a written out speech
Right.
that he was given, which was really impressive to me because listening to the speech, he has some moments where he just casually goes into rhymes and has like a whole flow without it feeling paused or without it feeling like he just thought of it. It's like he's just in the midst of a thought and goes into like 4 rhyming lines.
Right.
And that actually made me think he had written everything out. And then he's just like, yeah, I don't always know I'm going to be giving speeches. And
Right.
I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but yet he had these rhymes. I was like, yo, you were rhyming like it was Def Poetry Jam. It was really cool to hear. And that was that.
Yeah.
So we had like that little pause and I was like, do you mind if I get a picture? Because I think somebody else started like waving him towards them.
Right.
And he just kind of stood there.
Not
And
saying yes or
we
no.
had like not saying yes or no. And he goes, go ahead.
Wow.
And I guess he was like already expecting me to like take the picture.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't like, so then he kind of like this poor man. Yes, go ahead. Take the picture. So then I hold up my camera and nobody was like right there for me to just be like, hey, take this photo. And I didn't want to try and scramble to find someone.
Yeah.
Just for Kanye to be like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk
Peace.
away. Yeah. So I turn on like the reverse camera and then hold it out. And I'm doing that thing where I have him in the frame, but half my face is cut off. So then I tried turning the camera to fit me in the frame, but I'm turning it the opposite direction, which means I'm even less in the frame.
Yeah.
My hand's a little shaky. And then I realize how I'm holding it, I can't actually click the button.
Oh, the
So the
worst.
first time I try to click the button, I almost dropped the camera. It looks so amateurish.
Adorable.
Yeah. So then I finally just was able to get like this quick, like, let me lean back so I'm better in the frame and take the picture. And I look ridiculous.
It's better though that it like looks ridiculous.
I know. Like, it's like I'm double chinning due to leaning back.
Sure.
Like,
We've all been there.
my hair looks strange. Just painful all around. But it's a picture with Ye. So then at that point, he just like, he walked off. I was like, thanks, Ye. And he went away.
Yeah.
And he went back to like the VIP area for a bit and came back and was hanging out to the left side of the bar for a while. And I don't know if Usher was there or not. I didn't realize it at the time, but seeing photos later, I was like, I feel like I saw Usher and just didn't realize that was
Right.
Usher. But he was kind of hanging out around a lot of people. That Chaney Jones girl that everybody keeps saying is like the Kim clone was there, but she wasn't really talking with Ye. She was nearby, but she wasn't like acting like she was with Ye. She was just talking with her own people. I saw DaBaby.
Oh, wow.
At one point. I didn't see him in the party, but he was in the waiting area, like kind of the VIP entrance and exit. I kind of saw him and Ye talking. Because at one point, I went around for another 10 minutes and completely forgot that Kanye was there.
Right.
Like, I was just kind of focused on who else I might meet and see. And at one point, turned around, I was like, oh, yeah, Kanye's still here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still at a party with Ye, seeing him talking with people. But he seemed like he was having a good time. I'd see him like kind of talking, laughing. There wasn't any, especially with the Instagram posts that would happen in the following days, you would never get the sense that that was the energy that he was carrying around.
Yeah, right.
Like in that moment, he was just like, was making jokes, was calm, having fun. So he eventually, I think he spent like an hour, or maybe less than an hour, like 45 minutes, and then bounced.
Nice. Wow. And you got in there. I mean, you seemed like you got pretty lucky. Like if he had been across the room and like with people, it probably would have been really hard to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just like, it all worked out to the point where me arriving when I did, like deciding to drink really fast and go get another drink, and ending up at a spot at the bar that was taking way too long, but positioned me between like Quavo and Jason Lee. And then me deciding to like talk to Jason Lee. I just happened to be in like the perfect position for Ye to come through and come up to me, essentially, where I didn't have to work to try and talk with him, but just happened to be perfect, like the perfect time, the perfect place, with everything kind of aligning. Had I gotten there later, would have missed him. Had I gotten there much earlier, I may have settled in. I actually normally try and just strike up conversations with people, but hadn't talked to anybody that entire time. So Ye was the first person I talked to at the party.
Wow. I know this to be true about you. Like whenever we would go to a film festival, you just talk to anybody and everybody in the vicinity.
Yeah, just like, hey, what's up? What's your deal? Tell me things. And then I did get to talk with Jason Lee.
Oh, you did?
He did not know. Yeah, he did not know who we were.
That's okay.
Or who we are. I was just like, Chris Lambert, Watching the Throne, Kanye podcast. He's like, nope, no idea. I was like, wow. I'd spoken with Michael Schur, a PR, about perhaps interviewing you about the Future Brunch and everything. He's like, nope, hadn't heard. I was like, okay.
Cool.
But I was just like, the Kanye community has been very appreciative of you. It's nice to have somebody in the media that's on Ye's side or understanding and realizing there's like a human here and looking at things from his perspective rather than just clicks.
Right.
So we had we spoke for a few minutes just about like Ye and in general and him leading up Donda Media. So I got his contact and just got an email and was like, hey, talk to my assistant. So nice. I don't think there's going to be like a great collaboration between Watching the Throne and Hollywood Unlocked soon, but it was at least nice to get to meet Jason, thank him, and let him know that the Kanye community is really appreciated, like him being a new character in the Kanye universe.
Yeah, right.
And like the work that he's done so far. So
wow, I
let him know that the fans were appreciative of what he was doing.
Anyone else at the party worth speaking about?
Yeah. Are you leading me into Tales of Rihanna?
I just want to hear about Rihanna and ASAP. Yeah. Like I'm all in on that.
Well, so I ended up seeing Kevin, and Kevin's like, oh, hey, by the way, like two of the people that you wrote about in the Brothers article, Chris and Genesis the Gray Kid, who did this beautiful art for Brothers. That was this giant painting that he made for the show, for the piece, ended up being the cover photo of the article. Both Chris and Genesis were there. So I was talking with them, talking with Kevin, which was cool. And we were in that second section of booths, not like the bar section, but the first booth section. And the DJ table was straight down at the end of the booths. And for most of the night, the area had been really clear. But in the middle of us talking, all these people swarmed that spot. And it was maybe 20 minutes after Ye left.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, it's really strange that all these people are standing in front of the DJ table. Like, what could possibly be so fascinating about the DJ? Like, the music's okay, but what? And then I heard, like, whoever was DJing, like, talking a little bit more. And finally someone's like, ASAP. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it just turned out like A$AP Rocky was the DJ for whatever reason. And at one point he's just like, yeah, shout out Netflix. And I was like, okay, well, I guess so. Like, props to Netflix.
Yeah.
So I go around and I'm like watching A$AP. He had his like mask on. It was somebody else I think was actually DJing, but A$AP was kind of
like ad-libbing,
like hyping, mini performing, rocking out, just bringing energy, and people are like into it. And I look across, I'm standing like to the deeper booths, and I look across the gap towards the booths on the other side and just see Rihanna like smiling, looking on at A$AP, like looking on at Rocky. I was like, what? Rihanna's just like hanging out? And as impressed as I was that Rihanna was there, she had on her table like these 2 giant untouched pizzas. And
awesome.
I just wanted to like eat the pizza. It looked so good. And we're at this like fancy downtown like Italian restaurant. You know that the chef made the best pizza that they've ever made because it's Rihanna. And so there were like 2 other pizzas that had been eaten, but these other 2 pizzas that hadn't. I was just like, I want to eat the pizza, but I did not get to.
Ah, man, that would have been a great ending to the story.
I know, right? It's just like I reached over, grabbed a piece.
Your hands
Rihanna
touched. You're reaching
gave
for
me
the
the
same
thumbs
piece.
up. Yeah. But she was cool. There were guards at the tables, so like there was more security around Rihanna than there had been around Ye. But nobody was really like bothering her. And I did take a picture, but that's because there were like 8 other people taking pictures throughout the night, and there was even media people that were there taking photos. So I was just like, all right, if we have some media people here taking photos and other people are taking pictures, I don't mind like grabbing a quick snap.
Right.
But that was cool. And then I got to meet like Cootie and Chike in person and talk with them. Got to meet a few other people that worked on Genius, like a couple guys that were doing some of the Netflix special features, like some of the interviews, some of the breakout content, the guys that did the music for it, which is cool because at the end of part 2, there's this Akira-like music that comes in. I was just like, I was such a fan. That was one of my favorite parts. And they're like, thank you. And then that was pretty much it. Jay Ivy was there, but I did get to talk to Jay Ivy, and I think there was another like bigger person that was there that I am forgetting who it was, but that was the experience. Cootie and Chike were really cool in person. It was a fun time, great party, good job Netflix, and it was cool to get to meet Ye.
Oh yeah, that's incredible, Chris. You've done something few Kanye fans have had the opportunity to do.
I know,
including
me.
me.
To meet him, get to talk with him.
I can feel Kanye's energy like flowing from you across the airwaves into my microphone.
That's right. Let it bask over you, Travis.
I mean, if anything's going to bring light into this room, that's it.
You just installed like an automatic curtain razor so you can
Ultra
hit a
light
button
beam.
and have the light. Yeah. I don't know. Any questions? Any follow-ups to the story? So
you were there probably a couple hours?
Yeah, I got there. It said it started at 9:30. I think I got in at 9:40, 9:50, and I left around 1:15 in the morning.
Nice. And yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. You did way more than I would have ever done. Like I would have been scared shitless and just like hanging off in the rafters, you know?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. But I like to think if Kanye was standing right in front of you, you would be like, all right, well, I might as well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, pitching the movie podcast, that would have been cool, but who knows? That could also be really weird. Like maybe it's better to go, I don't know. We're going to make it happen someday, and I don't know how, but
yeah,
maybe we should reach out to somebody who can contact him.
It just didn't feel like the right thing to be like, hi, my name's Chris Lambert. Do you want to do this interview with us? And just be like, no.
Did you mention the slumber party at least?
I wanted to save that. That's third conversation kind of stuff.
What if you were talking to Kanye and then like all of a sudden Jay-Z walks up out of nowhere on one side of Kanye and they're talking, then all of a sudden another Jay-Z walks up on the other side of Kanye?
I would be for newer listeners. We used to have a running joke about we used to do Jay-Z news at the end of episodes just because it was the show's called Watching the Throne, but we never talk about Jay-Z. So we'd do Jay-Z news and we'd just make up the news.
Yeah.
And we'd do very serious Kanye news talks and then make up Jay-Z news.
It got slowly more and more out of control.
Yeah, to where there was a clone Jay-Z called Clazy.
It's still really good. It still makes me laugh.
Yeah, we're going to write the life and times of Clazy at some point.
Yeah, when we have nothing else left to talk about regarding Kanye, like that's where we'll be.
Yeah, we'll be analyzing Clazy's albums, and they're just lyrics that we wrote.
They're pretty much Jay-Z albums, but we just like tweak a few things.
Unreasonable doubts.
The black. No, I don't know. I was gonna say the White Album, but that's already in an album. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we're still working on it.
What's the opposite of 444?
888.
Sure.
Or I guess you could do, if it's 4:44 p.m., you could do like 16:44 in military time.
Ooh. Yeah, those are the tweaks.
Those
are the tweaks.
That's really good.
We're brainstorming.
Yeah, I mean, this is gold. You're all getting live here. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but if Jay-Z had walked up, I don't know. I just would have been like, oh.
I would have shit my pants.
Just be like, hey, Jay, what's up, man?
Sorry about the spell. Okay. Anything else noteworthy from the weekend?
I don't think so. I had the best pizza of my life.
Ooh,
that was the thing that happened.
Yum. Where what kind of pizza? What style?
It was a chorizo.
Oh.
So like an Italian, we're at an Italian like brunch place, Galena, I think it is, in Santa Monica. And they have this house chorizo pizza that's just like this chorizo, red sauce, and it was amazing.
Do you know what style of pizza was? Was it just like thin crust?
Yeah, like a thin, like fire oven Italian pizza.
Yeah, yum. Like a Neapolitan or anyway. I don't know. I love pizza, so I could have a pizza podcast.
That'd be fun.
Sounds delicious though.
Yeah, so that was good. I mean, but Los Angeles was a great time.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder of like so much stuff is happening out here.
Yeah.
I almost reached out to some people to see if I could make it to where they're recording Donda 2. But I also didn't know what I would like what request do you even make that justifies that?
Yeah, right.
Like, can I just come by? And they'd be like, no, we're professionals working on an album.
Yeah. And your only credentials are you talk about Kanye way, way, way too much.
Yeah, maybe they would have liked it, but maybe I'm the exact person they don't want in there.
I would say so.
I did see Theophilus London at the party.
Cool.
I forgot about that. And he was the first person that I saw, and I was like, should I go up and talk to him? And then I didn't.
You took the Travis route.
But yeah, that would have been, he was kind of like running around the whole time, like going up to different, he was the initial kind of like scene setter, like getting things in order. I mean, the same way that we've kind of seen on Instagram that he's kind of been directing things,
right?
And stage managing. It feels like he was kind of doing that at the party. But in hindsight, I do regret not going up and just being like, hey, thank you so much for the access for Donda 2. Right. It's been really fun to see the things that you've been sharing. That would have been just to let them know that we appreciate it.
Chris, you did plenty. You don't need to do any more than you did. Don't beat yourself up so much.
Yeah. But it was really nice of like Kevin to make sure I got to go.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see how receptive Cootie and Shike were and how happy Cootie and Shike were.
I feel like
what a great night for them.
Every time I've seen them, like I guess I haven't seen them a ton, but like any time I've seen like clips of them or photos of them, like they're just beaming. Like they're just living it up, like so happy all the time, like positive forces. I love it.
Yeah, they're just like the kind of people that when you're in the room with them, you're like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah.
Like, why can't everybody Like, why is it everyone just this great to be around?
And then you think about me and you're like, gosh, Travis, why can't you be like this?
Just stealing the light out of the room. That's what you do.
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, and like you said, like the way Kanye was acting at the party, like it must have been shocking to see what then happened on Instagram.
Yeah, over the next couple days, because that day, like my birthday and the day after, he hadn't posted anything severe, right? Like all the Cudi stuff started the next day.
Yeah, the next day.
Like all the Kim stuff, kind of like all the Skeet stuff started the next day.
Yeah.
It I didn't even know how to respond to some of it. I was just like, it's such a dichotomy, right, between the person that you just saw and then the social media post. And even Ye saying it at times in his Super Bowl post, he's just like, I'm completely calm right now, like taking my kids to the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not freaking out or losing my mind.
Which was hard. It was kind of hard to tell because he was using all caps most of the time.
Yes.
Pretty confrontational language most of the time.
Yep.
So I feel like that was some interesting insight into Kanye because like you said, like you were there with him. He was calm. He was like, like recognized you, smiled, like took a picture. It's I feel like that's the dynamic we get with Kanye. Like the balance of Kanye is that he, like what's coming out, like what we're seeing behind, like past the man, just like on a page, like it's really hard to understand him sometimes. Partly his own fault, which he talks about on his Instagram post today, like he needs to work at his communication, but also just the general narrative around Kanye, the way like the media spins everything, just who he's associated with. Like it could be tough to like look past all that and just think about like he's a man, he's a human being, he's trying to communicate something. And trying to analyze all that. I feel like I got a glimpse into your life this weekend, trying to like talk about it in the YouTube videos. Like it's not easy to do.
No, it can be difficult trying to figure out how to balance the initial reactions to what's said to being cognizant of there being a gap between what he's presenting and what he's actually feeling, versus like how everybody else is viewing the situation. It's a little bit of a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
Reporting on like these kinds of things rather than just like, we saw a track list.
So yeah, what's your general takeaway from all that? I mean, I talked a bit about it in the YouTube channel and stuff. I don't know how much more I need to dig in from my perspective, but like, what was your general takeaway? Like, what were you seeing from Kanye this weekend?
Like,
I guess maybe we should set the table a little bit because who knows? People could be listening to this like 5 years into the future.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So this past weekend was Ye really going after Pete Davidson in a much more direct way, calling him out. He ended up calling out Kid Cudi, saying like because Cudi's friends with Pete's, that Cudi's not going to be on Donda 2, and called out Billie Eilish as well for potentially saying, she said, I don't resume the show until I know my fans are okay.
Right.
Which felt like she didn't say Travis Scott, but it seemed like a directed, like, see, I'm different than Travis. So Ye calls her out, wants her to apologize, and she's like, I never said Travis Scott.
Yeah.
Which is just like, well, okay.
Which I did think
technically.
That was a weird response because even if she didn't mean it, like in that moment, wouldn't, if you didn't mention Travis Scott, like you weren't trying to associate this moment with him, wouldn't you say like sorry if it came off that way? Like if you didn't mean it, and you would be genuinely sorry for that, right?
Yeah, I mean that would have been my reaction. Like, I'm sorry, I did not mean to call out Travis. It's just with all the concert safety, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And instead she's just like, I never said Travis, which at the same time, like, she's people were like, I think, right to point out she's 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's still figuring things out, and I'm sure that there's a bit of a shock that comes with having someone as massive as Ye calling you out and asking for an apology. I can also understand why her first response would be like, I never said Travis. Like,
yeah.
And just this like defensiveness of, can we just like, don't call me out. What is this?
Yeah. Exactly. You can understand both sides. Like, I totally agree. Like, if Kanye did that to me, I'd be like, oh God, what do I do? But yeah, that's tricky when like you're put on like the international stage and like there's going to be headlines written about what you say no matter what you say.
Yeah. So we got that kind of leading into the Kid Cudi stuff, which then led into all the stuff about Pete and him talking about Disney and Hulu and seeming to be saying that Kim's relationship with Pete is by design for the forthcoming Kardashian Hulu series that's starting.
Right.
So they've been filming the first season of that show. And almost like this theory that, oh, her relationship with Pete is merely material for this show rather than something that's a legitimate relationship. While also then starting to get into like, if you see Pete on the street, scream at him that Kim Ye is the best. He posted a text message conversation that it seemed like Pete Davidson reached out to Kanye to try to say like, hey, I'm not trying to get in the way. I'm not trying to do anything. Like, I haven't met the kids. I would never say anything bad. I hope we can all be friends. And Kanye was essentially like, fuck off.
Yeah.
And then Kim reached out to him and was just like, you're creating a scary situation. You know, you fans, even though you said scream at Pete, fans could take that further. And Ye posted like, don't do anything physical to Pete. Like, I'll do that.
Yeah. And
then Kim said something else like, why are you doing this? Why can't like you ever keep our conversations private? And he's like, I'm hearing from my favorite person in the world. I want the public to know. And I get so torn because it's not how I would handle the situation at all. But I've never been in a position where in college, I was in a position where I was trying to like fight for someone that broke up with me. And I was doing like big gestures, getting emotional, freaking out over things. And it did not feel good in the aftermath.
Right.
And none of it worked. None of it worked.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is going to go the way that Ye wants it to. But then also with some of the posts, I'm also like, there are a few of the posts that felt like trolling in a way where I'm like, I can't tell if this is like genuine at this point, if this is trolling, like where is this landing? I believe that Ye's just being genuine, but then at the same time, we know that he's like a troll as well.
Right.
So there's also part of me that's just wondering like how much of this is just him kind of like taking some shots, but I don't think he would be messing with Kim in that way. So
when you say,
I've been like kind of,
I just like when you say being a troll, like what exactly do you mean?
With Kim saying like, why don't you ever keep our conversations private? He's like, oh, I'm just, I'm so excited to show people that I got a message from my favorite person in the world.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a way to read that that's very genuine, and then a way to read that that's very sarcastic. Or with all the kind of the Pete stuff, it just feels like he's like taking the piss in some ways.
Right. Going over the top, like way too much.
Yeah. Like it's a little over the top at times to where you're just like, oh, is he being genuine about all of this? Or is he just wanting to create some controversy around it?
I mean, it's tough with Kanye. To me, I know what you mean about the troll like behavior. I almost like hesitate using that word because I feel like that paints it in a worse light than it is. But I know what you're getting
agreed.
at. Because I think Kanye is genuine. Like, that is like one of the things I love about Kanye is like he is unlike most celebrities and politicians, like any public figure, where like when he says something, like I think he believes it. Like I think he's really like exposing himself in a fearless way. It's just that, as we know with Kanye, he gets ramped up. We've seen him do it many times. Like and no matter like what setting it is, it can usually be taken in a bad light. Like even the Trump visit, like people just thought that was an awful event, even though like when you just think about what he was actually saying and talking about, like nothing but good was happening during that. So when he's, I guess it's a little different when you're talking about like being potentially violent towards somebody else. But I still think like the core of it all is that like he's fighting for something he wants back in his life, and that is pushing him in these directions that isn't great. But the core of it is like you could sympathize with it and you could be understanding of it.
Yeah, definitely like sympathize with what he's going through and what he's like attempting to do and achieve. I always come back, because we talked in 2018 like how much of what he was doing in the political arena was like performance art, right?
Sure.
There was that whole performance art theory that got started, and he had posted even a couple months before everything took off a few performance art books, right, and about various performance artists. And then suddenly he's in this midst of this like national headline raising back and forth, and people were pointing out like the same day that this really thoughtful interview with Charlemagne the God posts to the internet, he does the TMZ interview, and you're getting the contrasting energies. And I think in hindsight, I mean, even in that year, that kind of became dispelled. But
right.
And in hindsight, as he's talked about everything, you can tell he was very genuine about what he was doing, what he was feeling in terms of what it means to put the red hat on, what it means to kind of break out of monolithic thoughts, and how empowered he felt from that. But there's something in part 3 of the Genius documentary where, in the aftermath of College Dropout coming out and being successful, and I think even Late Registration maybe, Cootie says that he went up to Kanye about putting the doc together and maybe releasing it like that early. We're talking 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
And Kanye's response was saying that he was now playing a character and didn't want people to be able to see who he really was behind the scenes. So it's like, even at that point early on in like 2005, 2006, he's talking about playing a character.
Yeah.
In terms of facing the public. And I always just like, there's always just part of me wondering how much like when or where or if ever still to this day he's like actively putting on like any kind of like character arc or role, or has some like self-awareness about like, okay, I'm gonna do this and it's gonna cause this, and I'm gonna do this and it's gonna
totally. I feel like you talking about all this and bringing up that moment in the documentary, it's helping me crystallize something I've always thought about Kanye. Is that it's not, it both is and isn't performance art. Like what's great about Kanye is that he's so fearless and will say what's on his mind and will go that extra step that nobody else will go to. Like he will put himself out there in a way that anybody else in the world will be like, well, if I did or said that, like that would be the end of me. Kanye becomes this, like, I feel like it's what we always talk about when we write about movies, you know, like this idea of defamiliarization. Like, what if you took something simple and you turned it into this like next level thing, and you put it in this unfamiliar setting, and then you're able to explore this idea that allows you to evaluate it in this fresh way. But then like when you think about the core elements of it, you're like, oh, like this is actually similar to something humans go through and deal with. I feel like Kanye is that in a way. He's kind of like a walking story, and he knows it. Like by going after his wife in the way he is, like trying to win her back, like doing it in this enormous way, like it becomes this example of like, what if you like actually did that, and what if millions of people could see it, and what if we all saw it play out in real time in this next level way that feels so ridiculous and not real, yet is totally real. Like you talking about the story with you and this girl that you liked, that you wanted to win back. Like it's all these machinations of Kanye, like, and it's the same that we talk about of his albums, like this quest for success and what that success is and how you define it and how it's fulfilling and how it changes from step to the next step to the next step. The fact that he lays himself out like that and exposes himself and talks about each chapter of his life in his albums, like it just becomes like this moment in Instagram to me, like, isn't any different. Like, I guess in a way you could read it as him playing a character, except he's playing out what he wants to happen. He's trying to will this thing to happen by doing this thing that seems movie-like and ridiculous. I'm like, we don't know how to react to it because like humans don't do this, but Kanye's doing it, and it forces us to like watch it, react to it, think about it, and then reflect on ourselves. You know?
Yeah, maybe that's like, I think you just kind of hit at the core of the tension, right? Because it's like when you talk about performance art, it almost feels like you're saying there's a fakeness to it. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this isn't real, this isn't intentional, it's just performance, right? He's trying to get a reaction, but this might not be how he's actually feeling. And it's like, no, this is how he's feeling. But it seems like he's aware that he's putting on a show for people.
Mm-hmm. You're not recording, obviously, because you have the door open.
I am recording.
You are recording?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about him saying he didn't want to be on the Netflix show, and he's tweeting like, I don't authorize Netflix, blah, 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 but then he like just showed up at the party.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that reality and the performance is blurring.
Right, like
it's all melding in together. There's like, it's not as clear as it's fake.
Love it.
That's out the window. It's gray. It's all fucking gray.
it is all gray.
Wow, insight from the wife. I love it.
It's okay.
Wait, you mentioned that to Travis.
Yeah, you're gonna
hear me talking.
Yeah, everybody's gonna hear.
It was a great point.
Travis said it's a great point. So usually I have the door closed when I'm recording, and the door open when we're not recording. But because Marie was upstairs, I had the door open.
Yeah.
So she's just like, he's not recording.
You're really rubbing off on her.
She has thoughts. She has things to say.
I love it.
She has good things to say. Yeah. So what she's talking about is that you have Ye essentially calling out multiple times this Netflix documentary, right? Like, I need final edit on it. It's not going to come out unless I like get to do this. We need to have Drake narrates, and it makes it seem like, oh, he's totally against this documentary. That might be the perception that a lot of people have. And then he's at the premiere party. He's giving a speech like before the party, after the premiere, right? He sat and watched the whole movie, commented on it after, and it's like whatever drama was there regarding this documentary isn't what happened in real life.
Right.
So you get this sense of like Kanye angry at the documentary versus in reality he's supporting the documentary.
Right.
So what is the reality in the situation with the recent Instagram posts? And he's probably genuinely feeling a lot of these things, but there's also this idea that he's going to put it out there because life is a performance, life is a stage. So yeah, he's making it into spectacle.
Yeah.
While also in this whole zone of I'm controlling my narrative, I'm putting things out there, I'm my own media. Like he talked about, he had that one post where he said, you know, the Daily Mail can post 50 times in a day and no one says anything. But if I post all these thoughts, then suddenly like I'm crazy and like something's wrong.
Right.
He's like, but I'm like a media, I'm a celebrity, like with the story, all this stuff. So it does feel like part of me always wonders if he is if he is making a larger point or discovering a larger point in the moment of what he's doing. But it's never quite as simple as just like Kanye's freaking out. To reduce it to just that, I feel is unfair to his track record over the years and unfair to everything that he's accomplished.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's like so many crystallizing thoughts happening right now. Like, it's really revealing this whole conversation, everything that happened this weekend, as much as like you might not like it and it makes you uncomfortable and makes you disappointed and frustrated. Like, what Kanye is doing, like, this makes him an important person. Like, it is truly important that we have somebody that will go to these lanes. Again, not always good, not always bad. The fact that because Kanye's whole message from the very beginning is like, I believe in myself so much that like I will catapult myself through the stratosphere. Like, I will become a huge star and I'll become an inspiration to so many people. His ability to just be living that way now, like to just always do what he wants, to always push the boundaries, to always take that extra step that you don't think is possible for you yourself to take. Like, he's become this walking, breathing character in that way. Like, he just now, he both is himself and like has normal wants and desires like anybody else, and is this example, like this walking example of like what you can do. And the fact that that's not always a good thing, like that can make him seem like a villain. You could argue for a million years why like everything Kanye has done is bad, but the fact that he is doing it like makes him important. Like, he's forcing you to think about it. He's forcing us to reflect like what are the boundaries of human beings. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, and as you're saying, like, there's this, and I think the documentary gets at this too. Genius, like part 1, part 2, and part 3, as like part 1 and part 2 are so purely the underdog story, right? Like what we hear on Last Call, the success of the college dropout, the legend that made Kanye West of going from the kid in Chicago, defying all the odds, being pigeonholed as a producer, to making it as a rapper and winning all these Grammys, having all this success. And you can so easily point to the positive examples and the positive ways in which Ye inspires fans and why his story is important in that way. And as you're saying, you have the flip side of that.
Yeah.
All the examples that he's provided of controversy. And there's instruction in both ways, right? Where I feel like in this most recent episode with Kim, it's not how I would recommend to anybody to win back their significant other. Which, he's fighting for his family. He's doing like everything that he feels that he should do, but sometimes the steps you take forward actually are steps backwards. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the steps backwards can be the best way to go forwards. But there's going to be people that learn from this, right? That are just like, oh, if I'm in a similar situation, I'm not going to take that path.
Right.
Or there'll be people that try going that route, doing this big thing, I'm fighting for you, and see the results of it probably not going the way that you hope it would, and saying, okay, what do we do in the aftermath of this? But it's like the same lessons that you get from watching characters in movies, you get from following the ups and downs, and Kanye learning, like using all of his skills to achieve the things he's achieved, but also being a human that isn't always perfect and learning from it, but being like, I think, a genuinely well-meaning person that will learn and carry forward and grow from these experiences and grow from the mistakes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes him so truly compelling and important. Isn't that he's perfect, but that he puts it all out there and allows us to learn from it.
Decidedly different.
decidedly different indeed.
Oh man, yeah, you're totally right. Like over the years, like movies are so important in my life and Chris's life as well. And we've gotten, I think you and I have collectively, the more we've written about movies, talked about movies, we've gotten better and better at watching movies and taking more and more away from them. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it is a movie. Like the beauty of art elucidates life. Like it exposes the underbelly, these things like we don't always think about. Art has this beautiful way of using stories to force us to insert ourselves into these situations, to think about what we would do and how we'd react and who we really are. Kanye takes that. He is that. Isn't that nuts? Like there is truly no one else. And like you said, the great thing about Kanye is he is well intentioned. He means well, and he is open to criticism. As we saw from his latest Instagram post, or one of the latest ones, that he's listening to the people in his life and thinking about what he's done. It's not like he's this like terrible human being. I don't want to name names, but you could probably think of a few yourself, who are just like these absolute villains, have like no disregard for others, like don't want to back down from who they are. Kanye, like he does feel like he's always changing, like a character in a movie. Like a movie can't be profound and life-changing to you if like the character doesn't go on a journey, doesn't learn something, doesn't change. And a lot of people in this world don't, and Kanye constantly does.
Yep. It's a strange, I mean, I can see people being like, well, you're just going easy, like blah, 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 blah. And I get that it's a perspective that doesn't suit everyone's perspective on things, but I think that it's a perspective that's fair to have and fair to like consider, rather than just being so one-dimensionally like he's awful or everything he does is perfect. Like I think, especially, recently I've seen a number of fans online just either supporting everything 100% or feeling awkward about not supporting everything 100%. Or even fans attacking others for not supporting everything 100%. And I don't think you have to like everything that Kanye does to like Kanye and appreciate what he's doing and the story that he's telling. Like, I think there's going to come a time for everybody where there's something you don't agree with, and just to know that that's okay. And the same thing, like Kanye says, like, I'm learning, like, I'm improving. There's still like a human element here, and it's okay to not always agree. And you don't have to attack people that don't always agree with everything that's going on. But at the same time, like, I think it's fair to appreciate like how much he's putting himself out there in both the good ways and the negative ways, and how instructive that can be for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Not everyone's going to appreciate him, in quotes, but like, again, he's important in the way that he is impactful. Like, no matter what way you shake it, how much you like him or dislike him, like, he has an impact. My wife had her friends over this weekend, and none of them are Kanye fans. But, I wander into the room at some point, and they start asking me about Kanye. And we have a conversation about him, and maybe they're being light and nice because they know I like Kanye, but it's not like any of them were like, completely calling him out. Like, an actual conversation happened, and like they got a little insight into like where Kanye's at, like what he's fighting for. And in that same night, like the flow of the conversation, we went to other places besides Kanye, but a lot of it recalled what Kanye was going through. Like, people are talking about ex-boyfriends and like how it makes them feel to see, their boyfriend on social media with this other person. Like, it happened. And like, there's no way what Kanye is going through, something you're definitely aware of because he is so ever present in culture, like that somehow had an impact on this conversation we're now having. He like we're saying, like he because he's allowing himself to be that character and be that exposed, like he ends up having an impact no matter how much you appreciate him or like him or dislike him. It's
I don't know when we'll ever see anyone or anything like this again.
I know. That's why we're doing this show.
That's why we're the leading scholars of Kanye West.
I'll take that badge proudly.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, Chris, I'm happy for you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. It was cool. Oh, Justin LeBoy walked by too.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't know what to say. He was just kind of like strolling. He seemed like he always looks so serene in photos. And in person, he was just like walking by, like a slight smile on his face, just like softness in his eyes, walking like completely seemed like without a care in the world. I was just like, he really does seem like the most calm person to be around.
Yeah.
Like just a very like nice presence. I was like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, in that moment, he like calmed you down and like made you able to talk to Kanye.
Yeah, I did see him right before talking with Ye.
Telling you, that's his effect.
Yeah. he was the cool breeze that I needed.
Okay, that's it, right? We're done.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, everybody, please stay wavy.
Keep it loopy.